Everybody, Anna Sabramowitz here. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, if you are watching this live, do me a favor. If this is a topic that you enjoy, at the end of the session, either like it or share it with somebody. That'll give me an indication if you like this stuff. If you don't vote, if you don't give me a thumbs up, then that'll tell me, Anna, don't shoot videos about this topic ever again. Okay, so this will be your way of voting up the stuff you want to see more of and explore more of versus the stuff you don't want. Okay, so I'm counting on you. Also, questions, pose them in the comments. I always check them out. And yeah. Also, another thing before I forget, I'm putting on a webinar, which is going to be more of this, but way more in depth. So to register for it, go to elearningsecrets.com. Okay, all right. Now let's get started. Today, the title of this particular session is, it has to do with e-learning. What if nobody wants to look at it? What if you build it and they won't come, right? What happens? Well, I got a suggestion for you that it's actually nothing that has to do with your e-learning or the way you designed it. It has to do with who we're actually targeting, who are we talking to, and how are we selling them on that learning. And also, just want to let you know, I've got 2 marker seats. They're running out. So I got back up. This is gonna be a short, punchy, awesome video. If you're excited, give me heck yeah, that's awesome. All right, so the first concept I actually just really need you to understand for the rest of this to kind of make sense is, I keep it like kind of high level, super simple, is the fact that our learners kind of come in a variety of flavors. In fact, at every organization, there's kind of a difference between, where they fall in the spectrum of awareness, let's just say. So I'm gonna... you can kind of see that. There we go. So let's say our learners so let's say when you're here in this cold area, and this is, let's say, the continuum, right? I talked about it last week about the kind of incompetent, unconscious incompetence all the way to competent competence. Well, I'm putting it down to 3 because I think that just makes it way easier. All right, so cold audiences are audiences that have no idea that they have a gap, that they have a problem at all, right? So they're in like the cold category, and they're in the unaware category. The life is good here. I mean, maybe this is sad. They actually don't, they're not sad at all. They don't even know that there's anything wrong. So they're walking around with their shoes untied. Who cares, right? And they're not tripping. So then there's the warm audiences. Your warm learners are people who are like, oh man, look, I got a gap. I should look for some learning. Or, hey, can you coach me? Can you watch me do this so you can give me feedback? That's a warm kind of learner, right? Like they're not masterful yet, and they're constantly referring to things, or they're seeking out more training. But this is a great spot to be, because the minute somebody becomes gap aware, that's when they become, as far as I'm concerned, ready to learn. And you got to catch that moment real fast, right? Because it doesn't last very long. It's kind of like when you finish a book that has all these action steps, how long are you excited after you read that book? Probably a couple of days, and then you're like, oh, it's kind of like New Year's resolutions, right? You're excited and then it fades. So this is exactly the same thing. Once people reach this kind of state, I'll talk about that next. The minute they reach that state, you want to be like, hey, here it is. Here's a coach. Here's an awesome e-learning module. Look, we got an LMS full of awesomeness. The e-learning I was talking about. But now they're ready. And then here, they're like super masterful, right? They're the hot stuff. This is like your subject matter experts, your top performers. They're rocking. Now here's the challenge for us, all right? You know how when you design learning, everybody's always telling you that you should, and I learned this when I was doing my, years back, my adult certification. It said, you always got to make sure your learners are tuned into WeFM, right? WeFM. WeFM, which stands for, oh, give it to me. what's in it for me, right? And so that's kind of funny because as far as I'm concerned, when you're doing this, you try and do that in the e-learning, right? You're trying to sell it to them while they're already in the training, which means that you assume they're here, right? But they're not. A lot of people are right here. They don't see the problem. They don't see the gaps. Their confidence is actually pretty high because world makes sense. Everything's good. Life is working out, right? So the what's in it for me, you got to scale that over here. You got to put it over here so they can figure it out on their own. That's actually the most powerful thing. The what's in it for me should be something they figure out for themselves. How do they do that? Guess what? There's a way for you to do that. So what I'm saying is that you don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater, as in e-learning, rapid e-learning development, really good content, really good resources have their place. They are essential. They are things that people need. Like you can't not have Wikipedia, right? You need it. You need it as a resource. It is essential. In fact, you guys should donate to support it because if you use it, they're looking for donations right now. But one of the things that's really important is that we recognize that the people that help us design our training, which usually are subject matter experts, they are so far removed from I didn't even know I needed this help, that we end up designing learning, anticipating people to be either in the warm category or people who already understand the language, understand the value. All they need is the good information. And that's absolutely wrong. We need to make sure that we're addressing these cold audiences. How do you do that? You got to pre-frame everything for them. You got to talk to them differently. Just like, people say, nobody knows what I do. I go to parties and I have to explain it and nobody knows what I do. It's probably because you're talking in a way as if you're talking to your colleagues instead of talking to your auntie, who you have to kind of frame things better for in plain language, right? So that's exactly what we're doing here. We're trying to help people discover what's in it for them, but they got to do that for themselves. And also that we're engaging them in the right way, because then when they're engaged, they perceive their own gap, then they're ready. And here is that, what I call the learning zone. That's where the learning zone is. It's not here. Here is the gap awareness zone. Gap aware. Here's also kind of where the motivation piece comes in as well, right? Which is fleeting. The minute they become gap aware, they got a little bit of motivation. Oh my God, I need to fix that. I'm uncomfortable. The world isn't perfect anymore. Right? You got to fix it. So you do that through storytelling, because one of the things that you're trying to do is when somebody's unaware, you put them on a journey. Now, in the journey, in an interactive story, what happens is they look at somebody else. They're not looking at themselves, so it's very safe. They're looking at a character go through a journey. And the thing is, when you're crafting that story, that's why I always say you got to talk to practitioners to help you craft that story. Because if you're interviewing and working with somebody who's a master, if they've been on the job a really long time, they have no clue what it's like to be here. And it's not their fault. It's because they've become masters and efficient. Why would they think about all the time what it was like to be, not the person who knew that stuff, right? How would that make a difference? So what you're looking for is people here when you're trying to craft your story. You're always looking for people who are, at the top of their game, but pretty recently there, because they still remember what it was like to have that gap. They still remember that struggle. And if they remember that struggle, they can help you craft a story that engages people right here. That's very important. So I just wanted to share that with you because I think that a lot of us are like, oh, you know, my e-learning sucks or whatever, or you know, this doesn't work, or they're not motivated. No, you have to engage with these audiences differently. If you're designing things for experts, you have to know that they're ready to learn. Even experts could be actually fall into the cold audience depending on the topic, because they might not be aware that there's a new way of doing things now. So it's, in fact, as far as I'm concerned, this is a cycle that somebody could go through depending on the new skill that's being shared, right? It's not just new to senior, it could just be new skill, right? New change, new leadership strategy, new anything. So what happens is you really want to figure out where your audiences are, and in fact now nothing is removed. All you're doing is you're adding a way to engage them in the right way for them, and you just have to figure out where they are at. So I hope that was helpful. If it was, and maybe give you a couple of ahas, or maybe this is something that you think somebody would benefit from, then share it with them, like it, and if somebody could put e-learning secrets in the comments, elearningsecrets.com, that would be wonderful, because then they could just click on it, and I appreciate that. If you have questions, I'm here, and I'll probably see you tomorrow, and I'll get more into the idea of stories and structure there, and how do you get people those aha moments? How do you do that? How do you do that consistently? Because are you a storyteller? Do you have storytellers that you work with? Who knows, right? Does that sound intriguing? Let me know. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Have a great rest of the day.